he was going to talk to me about a movie he wanted to put me in. I'm 12 years old, and I thought he was a producer, but instead he was an exhibitor. And I'd never seen anyone naked before, except myself, so I had no clue.
I don't think that Mr. Freed just exposed himself to Shirley Temple. I believe something more happened in that room, and her laughing about it was her way of coping up with it. The same thing with the mom. They had recruiters to bring in specialized people for this particular event. One of those people, of course, being Oprah Winfrey, where she could wrangle some young girls for Mr. Weinstein. How many of you have watched the movie Forrest Gump? I used to love Forrest Gump before I found out about Tom Hanks, mind you. But the character of Forrest Gump really got me involved into the movie. There was a scene when he was younger where he was sitting on the front porch and the principal was at his home and he was hearing some stuff in the bedroom, at least within the confines of the home of his mom, making a whole bunch of noise. And when he came out, the principal looked at Forrest Gump and said, "Well, boy, your mama must really love you." I say that to talk about another famous individual by the name of Shirley Temple. Now, many of us know Shirley Temple from way back in the day, this little young, curly-haired blonde girl tap dancing, singing, dancing, her time with Louis Armstrong, and a whole bunch of stuff. You familiar with her. Well, she was interviewed before she passed away and spoke about a certain event that she was involved with when she went to MGM. I'll have you listen to what she said, and we'll come back and discuss it real quick.
When I left Fox, I went to MGM for one picture. Thank goodness, only one. And when I got there with my mother, we were separated. She went into the office of Louis B. Mayer, and I went into the office of Arthur Freed. And he was going to talk to me about a movie he wanted to put me in. I'm 12 years old, And I thought he was a producer, but instead he was an exhibitor. And I'd never seen anyone naked before, except myself, so I had no clue about what was happening. And so it struck me so funny, I laughed at him, and I laughed uproariously. I had tears, We got in the car driving home. I said, "Mom, you won't believe what happened to me." And I told her what happened, and she got kind of quiet. She said, "Well, you don't know what happened to me." And Louis B. Mayer wasn't as bad as Freed was to me, but he came on to my mother.
Now, our take on that is a little bit different. She spoke about the fact that she was in this room by herself. Her mom was in a different room, and this is what the individual did. A certain individual by Arthur Freed did it to her, and then with her mom, it was Mr. Mayer, okay? Now, both of these were big executives at MGM at the time, and what they did, from what she's saying, was pretty bad, yes, exposing oneself, and she said she laughed at it, but if you look at her, you can tell that something more had taken place. Now, as a parent, if that happened to where someone did it to me in one room, and I'm realizing that my young daughter went into another room with someone else from the same firm, my effect would be, what? And I'd bust out that door and go find out what they're doing to my daughter, because if they can do it that blazingly to me, my daughter is definitely not safe. But from what Shirley said, she went back out of the room after he kicked her out the room, and they both talked about it and laughed. That could be one of two things, a coping mechanism or avoidance altogether. We believe something more happened in that room, not just to her, but to her mom, just like with the Forrest Gump thing. If you love your daughter, you know what you're going to do? You're going to do what we say, and we'll give her all of the props possible. Just let us do it. Now, granted, the MGM deal kind of fell apart, but it's the idea that the mother would go and separate herself from her child just so that her child can be famous. This had to be something taught to her from her grandmother, from her grandmother. It might even be generational. Whatever you have to do to get ahead, do it. It doesn't matter if it hurts. Doesn't matter if it's an abusive thing. Just do it, because in the end, you're going to have what you need and you'll never have to worry about things again. It's a sellout kind of thing. Just go ahead and sell your body. That's the same idea that prostitutes have, by the way. Whatever you got to do for that money, you're going to do it. I don't think that Mr. Freed just exposed himself to Shirley Temple. I believe something more happened in that room, and her laughing about it was her way of coping up with it. The same thing with the mom. Well, I mean, good for them that they never went back to MGM, I guess, but at least that's what they said on the surface. We don't know what kind of deals were made. But from what we've heard from people like Judy Garland, the media at that time, all of the big names in Hollywood, They would indeed take advantage of you for you to move forward. If you wanted props, you wanted to get big in Hollywood, you wanted to make money, you wanted to make a name for yourself, you have to do a certain thing for us. That didn't stop, by the way, because you still had people like Harvey Weinstein doing the exact same thing. You had perpetrators pushing their own people. They had, listen to this, they had recruiters to bring in specialized people for this particular event. One of those people, of course, being Oprah Winfrey, where she could wrangle some young girls for Mr. Weinstein. It hadn't stopped. Shirley Temple is just ringing the bell on something that's been happening in Hollywood for like the last 100 years. It's a crazy deal. So what exactly does that mean for the rest of normal society? That fame is not worth the headache that it brings. One can easily lose themselves, their faith, and in a lot of cases, they lose their life. They don't want to live with what they've given up to get where they got. And when they finally got there, they realize this is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought for sure when I gave that up, I'd get happiness. I'd get more. I'd feel fulfilled. I'd arrive. No, because they've taken your innocence already. They didn't leave it to chance. They want to break you. If they can snap that streak in you that's strong, you don't have to fight. They can get exactly what they want out of you. You're just a meal ticket. I understand that some people want to be famous, but get famous on your own. Don't rely on these people. See, Shirley Temple and her mom, and I do blame the mom more than I do Shirley, because Shirley was a child at the time. There are some things that parents try to pass off as parenting when it's actually indentured servitude that they're handing to their child. Technically, you're handing them a loaded gun and saying, pull the trigger while it's facing you. You might as well have done that as opposed to going to a meeting where your child might be exploited sexually. This thing is big, but it's not unheard of, and it's not something new to many of us. It might be new to some, but it's not new to many of us. This particular mode of operation, they give to get. It's a big deal. They do it. Okay, let's put it on a little more tangible thing. Let's take the whole sexual exploitation off the table. Look at college sports. Coaches will incentivize players, right? Here's a car. Here's a jacket. Here's a ring. Here's some money. Oh, your family's broke. Here's some stuff here. All you have to do is do what I say to do. It may not even be related to sports. You've heard Sandusky before? Same thing.
If I say, no, I'm not attracted to boys, that's not the truth, because I'm attracted to young people, boys, girls.
You want to make it in this, don't you? Yeah, well, you better do what I tell you to do. Let me do what I got to do in order for you to make it. You're like, you got some good talent now, but that talent ain't gonna get you where you want to get to. I can get you where I need to get you now. I could do that. But Shirley Temple's story is a heartbreaking one, but it has not stopped. It is continuing. In fact, it's branched out into way more fields now, even into the office place. You want that promotion, huh? Guess what you got to do? It's a crazy thing, but if you don't have a moral compass to begin with, you'll fall for it every time. If I were to give you any advice, it's this. Find your plumb line. Find that moral spot that never changes spots, never leaves, never stops. Something outside of you that does not become fickle when you feel weird. It's hard and fast, and it does not move. That's your plumb line. And when someone tries to break that line, you can look them dead in the eye and say, nah, we ain't doing that. If that's what it takes, then I don't want it. Her mother did not save her. Her mother put her into an arena where she was absolutely cannibalized by these people. If you have a child that has some sort of a gift, either in acting or any other field, be sure that you put your plumb line to work and do not let your child be exploited for the sake of money, because the love of money is the root of all evil.